Show me prison, show me jail, show me prison man whose face is growing pale, and I'll show you, young man, with many reasons why. There but for a fortune may go here, you or I.
Is it rolling? All right, brief recap. Okay, we begin with the sad tale of the death of Phil Ochs in the Chelsea Hotel, room 714, approximately 4 nights ago. And what's today's date about? I don't know, June 27th. So June 20, on the first day of summer, in 1975, Phil Ochs was murdered in the Chelsea Hotel, room 714, by Lute Train, who is now speaking. I killed Phil Ochs. The reason I killed him was because he was a sometimes genius, but he drank too much and was a boring old fart. And for the good of society's public and secret, needed to be gotten rid of. Because although he had brilliant ideas, i.e. an evening with Salvador Allende, and a couple of good songs like Crucifixion and Changes, he was no longer needed or useful because he was too embarrassing at parties, and the Rothschilds wouldn't want to know him, no matter how brilliant he was, because they couldn't hold a conversation, nor hold himself up. But he was very valuable to various causes, both political, religious, and artistic, for his name value. Everybody respects Phil Ochs no matter what he does, because he was always honest.
There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone. I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone. And you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here.
I don't know. It's so heavy. I'll start somewhere. I did a lot of interesting things for a long time in my life. I started, at Ohio State with Jim Glover, Jim and Gene, who was my roommate and taught me how to my first chords. We used to sing together. And one of the first jobs I got was right after I started in 1961 was in Farragher's, or the Dalton Boys Saloon. And I was doing some Kingston Trio kind of songs, and I was writing my very first songs. It's all instinct, so there's just no musical training. The aim was that a political song, could have an aesthetic quality. I mean, it didn't have to be just rhetoric, as most of them tend to be. It could be a protest song plus be, a musical song or a poetical song.
Come on and take a walk with me through this green and growing land. Walk through the meadows and the mountains and the sand. Walk through the valleys and the rivers and the plains. Walk through the sun and walk through the rain. Here is a land full of power and glory, beauty that words cannot recall. All her power shall rest on the strength of her freedom, that her glory shall rest on us all.
Well, what happened? What happened to all the promise of the beautiful, exciting aesthetic that was happening in 1965?
So at this point, I'd moved to New York City. I was living in the village, living near the corner of Bleecker and McDougal, and this song came out one night.
Oh, I marched to the Battle of New Orleans at the end of the early British War. The young land started growing, the young blood started flowing, but I ain't marching anymore. Now the labor leaders screaming when they close the missile plant. United Fruit screams at the Cuban shore. Call it peace or call it treason, call it love or call it reason, but I ain't marching anymore.
I said that to me was the healthiest period. I mean, say 62 to like 65. It was before drugs came in on a mass level. Before acid. The movement, there was the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement were merging on a very clear and intellectual level, and I think we're starting to pose a real threat. I mean, a very sober threat to what was going on in this country.
Yeah, well, see, into that picture came the Tim Leary and acid, the glamorization of acid, mass drug taking without any kind of intelligence involved, and then which was like a celebration and then uplifted first, and then a huge downer after, like all releases of energy. So of course I mellowed out and took a little edge off my harshness.
We'll do a little non-political song here. Sit by my side, come as close as the air, sharing a memory of grace, and wander in my words, and dream about the pictures that I play of changes.
And then, of course, then came Chicago, '68, where it culminated with the crisis in the Democratic Party. The Johnson policies, were in direct contradiction with a growing movement, and they clashed in Chicago and the Chicago trial and so forth. And then after Chicago, musically, I wrote an album about the death of the American, called Rehearsals for Retirement, of sort of like the death of the liberal American. And then these last days, these trials and tragedies were, after all, only our rehearsals for retirement. You can have them, I don't want them. I wear a different kind of garment in my rehearsals for retirement. Like that kind of despair music. And then, of course, followed by Kent State. And after Kent State and the Nixon repression getting stronger and stronger, I thought, well, in order for there to be a real viable movement, the idea of a freak counterculture was disastrous. I mean, what was needed was an organic connection to the working class. So Nixon was using that and is getting across this image. It's them against us. I mean, no matter what you think of me, I'm a regular, straight American guy. And if you're not going to have me, you're going to have some hairy freak, and dope in the streets and destruction of the country. So take your choice. I mean, that's the game he played, and played very effectively. I think what Nixon was about, of course, was the sowing of the creation of a total police state, step by step. But he got too arrogant and went too far, and it exploded with Watergate. And at that point, activists had developed a sense of despair, frustration, and mainly impotence, I guess. Myself was concerned, I felt myself slipping down and down and down over these last couple of years. As far as happiness went, I've been very unhappy and very depressed for a long time now. And as far as my creative abilities have I think, gone way down. It became psychologically impossible in this period for me to write. And sometimes, I just couldn't write at all.
Once I knew a sage who sang upon the stage. He told about the world, his lover, a ghost without a name, stands ragged in the rain, and it seems that there are no more songs. Hello, 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 is there anybody home? I've only called to say I'm sorry. The drums are in the dawn, and all the voices gone. seems that there are no more songs.
Thank you very much. If you will, please, a warm hand for Phil Ochs.
So anyway, back to Train. So, Train decided to kill Ochs, and he decided to kill him mercifully. Because he liked Phil Ochs. You know, everybody likes Phil Ochs. Phil Ochs is the most likable guy who ever lived. Because he never wants to offend anybody, because he wants to attack society and be so nice that nobody want to kill him, which is how he survived the 60s. But Phil Ochs was an amateur in music, so he never made a good record, so he could be safely criticized for making bad records, so therefore don't play him on the radio. So now the war's over. Now the real Phil Ochs can emerge safely without being killed. His name is Train. So Train kills Ochs in the Chelsea Hotel. But Train was laying for Ochs in the bar, watching him come home drunk every night. The second night he was drunk at home, passed out in the living room. He went with a Bruce Lee shot, killed him painlessly. 1 split second he was dead. Didn't know anything about it. So goodbye, Phil Ochs, and good riddance. But he's still around for sale from Train if they want him. He can still appear in public and sing I Ain't Marching Anymore and get paid for it. As a matter of fact, he's about to make $15,000 in the next couple of weeks to doing just that, for cash value, strictly. Train does nothing for nothing. Everything now is hard cash online, and for the preservation of art and help of artists. Period. End of that story. Let's take a break. I need a drink.
I don't know, but it seems every single dream's painting pretty pictures in the air. Then it tumbles in despair, and it starts to bang till by the end it's a nightmare. But I'm gonna give all that I've got to give. Cross my heart